you guys feeling?
Good.
Oh man, you know what? There's no place I'd rather be than right here, right now. Man, you know?
Yeah.
I like your hair today. All right, so one more time, turn to the person you're sitting next to, and just look at him, and just tell him the truth. My God, you're gorgeous. It is the truth. All right, October's theme is forgiveness. We talked about self-forgiveness last week. We talked about leaving the past in the past. Today, the topic of today is love thy neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh wait, sorry. Love thy enemy. That was neighbor. Love thy enemy. Neighbors, you gotta learn to love, right? But thy enemy, sometimes it's your neighbor. So, I'm gonna do something I've never done here. And it must be because I knew Reverend Candace was coming today, and I also had a great lunch with Richard Gordon, and we were talking about the J word. In the many communities, the J word is Jesus, and how much of a trigger that word can be for people in certain communities. And it's so interesting because we know why it's a trigger for many people, because so many people use Scripture as a weapon, something to hurt other people with. And so there are wounds from the past, culturally from the past, that it is our job to heal. And we heal it by looking at it, and by putting the healing balm of understanding, compassion, and love on it. And that is what we do the more that we take it, because it's only a weapon if we allow it to be a weapon. It can be a tool if we allow it to be a tool. And so there is I'm preparing a module, a new notebook for practitioner training. And this next module that we're moving into with the newest practitioners, it's all about forgiveness. And so for 4 months, we just study forgiveness from every angle. And we study true forgiveness. And I was reading the Love Your Enemies speech by Martin Luther King Jr. this morning, and talked about like vitamin supplements for the soul. And he based that speech, which was so powerful, and talked about someone who had every excuse to have enemies. He could have been the victim, and he taught us, and why he lived in our consciousness is because he transcended that. He transcended the appearance of enemy. He transcended the victim consciousness and built a bridge into a new understanding. Taught people about the law. Taught people that we can create through love a new world. Not fix the world that we're living in, but create a new world. And he is one of the most profound teachers of that message that we've ever experienced. And that's why he still lives on in our hearts and our minds and our consciousness. That's why we still lean into his teachings, his examples. And what is our most powerful tool for teaching? It's our demonstration. And it's written there in our mission statement. By actively teaching the healing powers. All right, so this is a Bible verse that I pulled from. And I was talking to my grandmother this morning. She was so thrilled that I actually was using a Bible verse. So this is for Grandma Jean. This is for Richard Gordon. And this is for Reverend Candace, the Bible token husband. This is Matthew 5, 43 through 48. 43 through 48, love your enemies. You have heard that it was said, love your neighbors and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. If you love those who love you, what reward will you get? Are not even the tax collectors doing that? And if you greet only your own people, what are you doing more than others? Do not even pagans do that? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. Jesus was a cool dude, all right? Just so we got that straight. Jesus is a cool dude. What others have done with his teachings, not always so cool. But that's why we're having this conversation here today. So we can transcend our past. We don't have to be victims of the past. We get to create a new world, and we can use whatever teachings we want, and we can interpret them correctly. Because if you're interpreting them in love, then you're interpreting it correctly. Because here's what I know about the teachings of Jesus. They were never meant to be a tool for condemnation. They were never meant to be a weapon of enslavement, ever. So let's use this as an opportunity to grow and learn ourselves. So, how do we begin to love our enemies? Step one, you got to check yourself. We have to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. So it takes responsibility. We have to be willing to own our part in whatever situation it is. And so we must become willing to ask ourselves, who is it that I would like to be? How am I showing up in the world? Who am I being when I walk into the room? And what could I do to be the person I'm interested in being? If multiple relationships in your life have conflict in them, you gotta look at the one factor that is present in all of those situations. It's yourself. If a lot of your relationships are in turmoil, and I'm talking relationships not just with people, but relationships with your health, relationships with your work, relationships with your money, relationships with your family, relationships with your friend. If much of that stuff is in turmoil, you have to look at the common denominator. It is you. Chris used to say that he had a method for determining whether it was you or them. And he said, if it's one person that's bugging you, probably them. But if there's multiple people, more, I think it was the magic number is 3. If it's 3 or more, it's you. It's you. So it's our job to begin the process through self-examination. And like everything, it always begins with willingness. You must be willing to take responsibility for your peace of mind. Because if you are not responsible for your peace of mind, then you are living your life as a victim. You are living your life in a constant state of coping and managing based on what the world is giving you. But what are you bringing to the world? You are not a victim of your circumstance. If you believe you are a victim of your circumstance, then you will always have an enemy out there. A Course in Miracles says that the first, how does it say? I'm going to paraphrase. The first, it's so good, guys, and it's like right on the tip of my tongue. You're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so glad he said that. The first act of war is defensiveness. So let's think about that. The first act of war is defensiveness. So that means if we believe there is an enemy out there, because of how the law works, we must find an enemy. An enemy will present itself if we believe it's out there. Because remember, we're always gathering evidence to prove ourselves right. We're always gathering evidence to prove ourselves right. So if we believe there is something to fear, we're going to have to go find it, right? We'll be looking for it. We become suspicious of intentions, of motives. So, we have to be willing to release defensiveness. We have to be willing to release this idea that there's something out to get us. That we are at the effect of our environment. It is completely opposite. Our environment is the effect of our consciousness. So now we begin to, So we begin by checking yourself. 1, get real with yourself. Ask yourself, is it really just them? Across the board, is it really just them? Or do I maybe have a part in this? And if you're courageous enough to accept that there are some adjustments that could be made on your end, then you can decide, you can become willing to create a container for the person that you would like to be. Who is it that I would like to be? Now you can get clear on who you'd like to be when you get clear on how you'd like to feel. Do I like to feel angry all the time? Do I like to feel anxious all the time? Do I like to feel paranoid all the time? Do I like the feeling that I can't trust people? Do I like the feeling of a gloomy depression, this overwhelming gray cloud that's blocking the sun all the time? Or am I interested in something else? Because it's just a bunch of words until you apply it to your life, people. Because we can sit here and talk about our thoughts create our experiences, love is the great healer. When we adjust our thinking to align with love, then we are in alignment with God, that all the qualities of the divine are pre-installed within us, and we have to just go towards that which makes us joyful in order to experience, the life we're meant to live. Follow our bliss. It's literally instructions for living. And that's great to say, and it's great to talk about. And it's great to line your walls with affirmations, get all the Louise Hay books, watch all the Super Soul Sundays, do everything that we're supposed to do as spiritual people living in Los Angeles today, hit the mala beads, eat more vegetables, all that stuff. And that's great. But until you apply the principles into your life, you will never, ever see transformation.
That's right.
Ever. Until you apply it, until you begin to believe it, you will not see the fruits of your commitment. Those spiritual fruits will remain, those branches will remain barren until you apply it, you live it. And when you create this process, when you become willing to love yourself, when you know who you'd like to be, and you begin this process, you begin to apply the principles into your life, you will start to see change. You will start to feel better. You'll start to feel more flexible. There'll be more space in your mind where there seems to be so much density, a never-ending, ongoing ticker of thoughts, of judgments, of fear. You'll get more space. You'll watch them go by, but you don't have to attach yourself to them. And you begin to feel a peace, a subtle peace. And it's not necessarily happiness, because I find joy and happiness are not the same. Many times I'm in joy, and I'm not smiling. I'm just being. I'm just being. And when you tap into that peace, you begin to understand something about yourself. Like, this is that divine quality that they talk about. And if it's within me, and here's step 2, then it must be within them. And then you begin to understand and begin to have an experience of oneness. Because the thing that connects us all is love. It's the creative essence that flows through each and every one of us. Not anybody on this planet has more access to it than anyone else. Oprah does not have some special account in which she gets more access to loving, creative essence and energy. It seems as though she just allows it to come forth. She doesn't pay any attention to those fearful thoughts, or at least the ones that prevent her from going forward and achieving what it is she's interested in achieving and experiencing and sharing. I have a feeling that she stands in being. I think Oprah's a minister. I said that once. I had a meeting at own once, and I said, Oprah's a minister. They're like, yeah, she wouldn't call herself a minister. I'm like, well, let me tell you why she is. And by the end of the meeting, they're like, oh, wow, Oprah's a minister. I'm like, that's right. You're working for a very global ministry, people. So then you become willing to, you become to understand something. And this is where we develop true compassion. When you understand that there is something that connects us all, that is flowing through each and every one of us, that what is within me, this peace that I'm cultivating within me, lives within other people, even if they don't know it. And that's true compassion. True compassion is knowing the truth of everyone, even if they don't know it for themselves. And the truth simply is you're perfect, whole, and complete, that we're all one, that you are perfectly innocent. Now, let's apply this to real world situations. Are you able to know that everyone is innocent, even if they seem to persecute you? And this is the powerful teaching that Martin Luther King gave in his love your enemies speech is he said we have to rise above the appearance of opposition in order to connect to unity, to express and experience unity. And that is done through the practice and implication and application of true compassion. So we have to know that. And I've said this many times. Have you ever gone out and tried to ruin somebody's day because you felt so good about yourself? Like the sun was out, the wind was blowing, you were listening to Dorian Neo's Soul in the morning, you're like, gold, gold, gold. Whose day can I ruin? I just want to mess someone up because I'm feeling so good. No, you don't do that. Of course not. God extends by nature. Do you know that? That the nature of God expands into infinity. Don't spend too much time thinking about it because we can't fully comprehend it. But it's true. And so when you are in love, by nature, you've got to share it. You have to share it. That's how you know if you're truly in alignment with love, is you just got to get it. You just got to go. You're going to raise people up. You're not going to talk smack about someone. You're not going to start gossiping, try to cut somebody down. You're not going to look for everything that's wrong with someone. You're going to be looking at everything that's right with someone.
That's right.
And that's how you know you are in love. And so, now this is something that we really have to cultivate and make strong. This is trust me, when you walk out these doors, it's like the fancy, it's like an equinox out there. You got a spiritual equinox. You got to get those muscles nice and strong because it seems as though they come at you. But really what it is once you decide who it is that you'd like to be, and as you get down really deep in your soul, I know that who it is that you'd like to be is someone who is loving, someone who is happy, someone who is joyful, someone who is peaceful, a representative of light on this planet. Once you commit to that, God's like, all right, baby. The universe is like, let's do it. And they're going to send your worst nightmare your way and say, be loving. Be unconditionally loving now. Okay, yeah, isn't that great? Yeah, you want to be peaceful and abundant? Great, we're going to take away all your clients. Be peaceful and abundant. Because it is something, it is an essence, a quality that we allow. It is not dependent on our job or our employer. Peace is not dependent on our partners being, I don't want to say being faithful, I don't want to put any of that out there. Our partner being, our partner acting a certain way. Our job, or our boss praising us. Your peace comes from within. And so no matter what comes at you, you should be able to transcend it and see the light because you are standing in peace. And like Dorian told us, it is alchemic. Love is alchemic. So it might come at you as darkness, but as soon as it gets to your light takes away that darkness. And so we must be able to see those that seem to oppose us, and I'm saying this specifically now because we are in an election cycle. We have to be able to see those who seem to oppose us as perfectly innocent. In our spectrum, in what we can pull from, in our experiences, we see innocence as children, right? We look at kids, we're like, that's an innocent child. We must be willing to see those that seem to oppose us as innocent children. And sometimes children have temper tantrums. Sometimes children run with scissors. They do things that can hurt them. And we have to say, baby, no, don't do that. That hurts people. That's going to hurt you. And that's not why we don't, loving someone, seeing their innocence isn't like, go ahead and say all the awful racist things that you'd like to say. No, it's standing in love and power and saying, that's hurtful when you say that. You're hurting people when you say that. It's a misperception. It's a weapon. It's not making them bad. It's not making them bad. And it's not saying you're an evil person. You're an awful, evil person, and you deserve to die. And I'll be happy when you do it. I've caught myself many times during this election cycle being like, what if, not dying, but just like a heart attack that could just take them out for a second. So then I'll pray for their wellness, and I'm like, no, that is not how we play this game. Because my peace of mind should not depend upon who is in the White House. My peace of mind, that I do not want to make the President of the United States a false idol. A false idol is anything that has power over my peace of mind. All right, I am committed to living in peace no matter who is in that house. I have preferences, and that's okay. I have preferences on how I would like to learn compassion and love, and I would prefer that that is done with specific people living there, you know. It's all right. But you know, Michelle only got 8 years, so we gotta. But she ain't going nowhere. I have a whole. I'm gonna pitch it to her. Anyway, but we have to look at that. We have to see where is the limit. I will be peaceful until this. I will be peaceful unless this happens. But if that happens, I'm not going to be peaceful anymore. I'm not going to be the person that I intend to be if that happens. You know, I will only be the person that I intend to be if situations and circumstances look like this. But as soon as they don't, then I'm not going to be that person anymore. I'm going to revert back to the victim, the person who is constantly needing and grabbing and upset and dark and shut off. Chris and I went to, and Lisa, we went to the Halloween Horror Nights at Universal City. So much fun. Although I will definitely say I had the experience of feeling like I was getting older, because by like the third or fourth maze, I was like, all right, I'm tired. I gotta rest. My back, my knees. But I noticed myself that when I'm scared, I literally walk like this. I was walking like this, like looking around because, you know, Freddy Krueger's going to jump out at you, which I think is super fun. But still, but I noticed that this is what fear looks like on me. And so ask yourself, what does fear look like on you? This isn't fear. Like, this is not fear. This is love. This is light. This is you seeing clearly. This is you as a channel of peace on this planet. This is you in your judgments and your opinions. This is you with you thinking you know what is right and what is wrong. I love that we think we know what is right and what is wrong, that we know what is best. In order to properly judge, we must be able to see past, present, and future and know how it all pans out and works out. I can't tell you how many times I thought I knew I was right, only to find out that if what I thought was right were to have happened, it would have been a disaster. And I'm so grateful that it didn't happen, because I was able to enjoy the best case scenario, which unfolded only as a result of that thing not happening. And so it behooves us to release our judgments, to give our judgments to that within us that knows how to judge properly. Our spiritual consciousness. Some call it the Holy Spirit, the I Am Presence. That which in us that knows the best path. This is why we cultivate a relationship with our inner life, our guides, so that we can hand it over. We can stay out of opinion. We can stay out of judgment and be available to be guided clearly in love, as love, and through love. This is how we love thy enemy, because we get clear that the enemy never existed. And in fact, we can become grateful for the people that we cast as our enemies initially, because now we understand you were here to remind me of my value. Because every time you said I was unworthy, every time you said that I was an abomination, every time you said that I was wrong, it made me go within and double check. Are they right? And if I believed they were right for an instant, I would feel that pain. You get angry, you get rageful at someone for saying something that you don't agree with, or what seems to be an attack on you, if you are afraid they're right. That's it. So we can hear this rhetoric. We can hear the things focused towards us, and we can choose. Use it as a gauge. Is there any part of me that believes them? And if you're feeling anything other than love or compassion, then you know, yeah, I am believing them. I'm afraid they're right. So now I'm going to bring this up and offer this up so I can heal it, because I got clear on who it is I'd like to be. And that does not include someone who's angry or resentful or afraid or hurtful or vengeful. It is someone who is free, who is in peace and at peace, who practices compassion, who knows that enemy is only an illusion, that there is no enemy, there's only opportunity. And how grateful I am to know that. Let's go with it. You can place a hand on your heart if you'd like. Helps me to center in my loving intention. Let's take a deep breath in, a breath of gratitude. Oh God, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to remember this. I'm so grateful to know that we are all one, and in that oneness, only love resides. Our oneness is love. So let us offer up, place on the holy altar in our minds so we can alter our perception of any belief that would tell us that we are anything other than perfect love. All of our resentments, all of our shame, all of our fear, all of the wounds of the past that we are still carrying around with us like a heavy load of bricks. We cut the cords now so that we can be free in this moment. So we can allow the light of love to shine through us, to express freely. Our life is meant to be a dedication to love. We allow that dedication to unfold now. And we become willing, more willing to see the face of innocence reflected back to us no matter who is standing before us. The face of love, the face of light. Releasing the belief in enemies so that we can stand in harmony. Thank you, God, for all the gifts that you offer every day. And we dedicate our healing now to anyone who feels alone or afraid or alienated or cut off or scared, knowing that where they are, love is, and so it is. Amen. Yes. So let's take a deep breath in and breathe out. And I'm going to ask Tom to come up with the basket and Patsy to get in position. We're going to pass the basket. We're going to bless our offering, and we're going to do our closing song. We're going to go out and have the best Sunday that we've ever had in the history of Sundays. Doesn't that sound good?
Yeah.
So go ahead and